starring Tom Conway as Inspector Mark Saber of the Homicide Squad in the case of the locked room.
Douglas, dear, it's your mother. Open the door. Douglas!
We know you're in there, Mr. Manning.
Douglas, I've had enough of this nonsense. Open the door. Oh, open it.
But I haven't a key, Mrs. Manning.
Well, then find one. You're the manager of this building. Don't stand there. Get a key.
They had the locks changed when they moved in. They have the only keys.
Oh, break it down, then. Oh, man, that was a gunshot. Oh. Oh. Douglas, my boy, my son.
Why? Why would he want to kill himself?
Oh, he wouldn't. He wouldn't kill himself.
But how else?
Oh, I don't know. Call the police. Call the police!
Jim.
Yeah?
Come here a minute, will you? This Manning thing, how does it hit you?
Oh, it hits me. Manning's mother says it's murder. She's hysterical.
You think it's suicide, huh?
That is my professional opinion, Inspector.
You must have a reason.
I've got a hatful. A penthouse, see? 18 floors down to the street. Every door and every window in the joint locked and bolted from the inside.
How about the front door?
There were only 2 keys to that. Manning had one and his wife the other. Furthermore, Erickson, the building manager, and Manning's mother were standing outside the door at the time he pulled the trigger.
Suicide, huh?
Common, ordinary, garden variety suicide, like we had 782 of last year. Guy gets to mopey and blows out his brains. You've got the full report. Maybe you've got a notion how a guy could knock Manning off, float through a window, bolted from the inside, and down 18 stories to the street without getting his shoes dusty.
Manning had just won $700,000 from his father's estate after a long court battle with his mother. Good-looking, healthy, married to a pretty wife. Does that sound like a prospect for a garden variety suicide?
I've seen crazier ones.
So he comes home, leaves his overcoat on, locks himself in the apartment, turns on the heat and the electric stove, lies down on the kitchen floor, and shoots himself through the head.
So he was nuts.
Maybe. But you find me a garden full of that kind of suicide, and I'll buy you a leather medal. What did you say that building manager's name was?
Erickson. George Erickson.
I'll have a talk with him.
Oh, I'm sorry, Inspector. I had a rough night. Where were we?
Nowhere yet.
Manning. Let's see.
I asked you how well you knew them.
Oh, so. They moved into the penthouse a couple of years ago.
Any idea why he killed himself?
No, I don't know. Unless it was the court hassle. There was a clause in his father's trust agreement. Something about his marrying a girl of satisfactory character. The old lady didn't think Mrs. Manning quite filled the bill. Threw the whole thing out of court.
I see. And now that he's dead, Judith Manning gets the money, huh?
I wouldn't know about that.
When did you last see Mr. Manning?
When he came in last evening, around 11.
Any idea where he'd been?
No, he didn't say. I think he'd been drinking. Told me to call his mother and tell her to come over right away.
Is Judith Manning upstairs?
Yes, I think so. Inspector, you will go easy on her, won't you? Suicide is an ugly thing.
Yeah. So's murder. Mrs. Manning?
Yes?
My name is Marc Saber, Inspector Homicide.
Won't you come in, please?
Thank you. You were going out?
I was just leaving.
I'll try not to keep you too long. There are one or two things about your husband's death I thought you could clear up for me.
I'll do what I can.
Pretty warm day for a fire, isn't it?
I got rid of some trash. I emptied the wastebasket this morning.
Oh.
What did you have in mind, Inspector?
Oh, just that it seemed a strange thing for a man to do. Locking himself in the room that way with the heat turned on.
He was a strange man.
How did you get on with him?
As well as could be expected.
As well as could be expected? How well is that?
We had our disagreements. I suppose you've talked to Douglas's mother. She and Douglas were...
What about Douglas and his mother?
She hated him. She and Douglas were at each other's throats over that lawsuit.
You sound as though you suspect her.
Of what? Douglas shot himself, you know. It's all in the police report.
I've read the police report. Do you mind?
Go right ahead.
Your husband shot himself at about 11:30. Where were you at that time?
At the Beverly Glen Theater.
Alone?
It's an old family custom. Douglas had a business appointment, and I didn't want to stay at home alone.
Who was the appointment with?
He didn't say. Excuse me.
How do you do? My name is Weeks.
Oh, Paul Weeks, isn't it?
Yes, I was Mr. Manning's attorney.
I see. Won't you come in, please?
Thank you.
This is Inspector Saber.
How do you do, Inspector?
How do you do?
I suppose you've come about Douglas.
Well, there are some things about the estate. However, if you're busy, I can...
Please go right ahead. I'm almost through.
Over here, Mr. Weeks.
Evidently, your husband told you I'm his executor.
He spoke of you quite often, Mr. Weeks. Douglas thought a lot of you.
Well, the feeling was mutual, believe me. I lost a wonderful friend last night. Now then, all of these papers must be signed and notarized. I know this is a difficult time for you, Mrs. Manning, but there are certain legalities which we cannot avoid.
I understand, Mr. Weeks.
Good. Right here on the bottom line. Oh, that would be Judith Copley Manning, please. Now then, here is the last of them. As the sole beneficiary, you will be entirely responsible for the taxes, of course. But we'll have to take that up later.
Did you find what you were looking for, Inspector?
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I almost forgot. I found this in the upper right-hand drawer of your desk. It's the combination to the safe behind that picture. I wouldn't leave it lying around if I were you. You can lose valuable papers that way. Please be available to us at an hour's notice, both of you.
Main floor?
Basement garage, please. Were you on duty about 11 o'clock last night?
Nah, I go off at 6. After that, the buttons take over. Do a better job, too. Never gripe, never ask for a raise. They're crazy to pay me. Basement garage.
Inspector Saber's office, Sergeant Maloney speaking.
Hello, Tim. Tell Maggie you won't be home for another 24 hours. We're calling on Lorna Manning. What makes you so sure it was murder?
All she ever wanted was his money.
You wanted it too, didn't you?
Don't be insulting, Sergeant.
Why did you go to court to set aside your husband's trust?
To keep her from getting it. Oh, she's a dreadful woman, Inspector. Why, she defied me and she disgraced Douglas with other men.
What other men?
Oh, he didn't tell me, but there were more than one. Why, 2 months after they were married, she admitted that she was in love with someone else.
4 weeks?
No, Mr. Weeks was in the East then. Good heavens, Inspector, must I draw a diagram? What are you looking for, a motive? Isn't $700,000 enough?
Yes. Yes, it's enough. And as far as the motive is concerned, Mrs. Manning, I just read your son's will at the courthouse. Tell me, if it was murder and Judith were convicted, who'd get the money?
Why, I don't know.
But you do know. You'd get it. You were down there to check that 2 hours ago.
But, Inspector...
Good day, Mrs. Manning.
We'll return to Mystery Theater in just a moment.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Chief. You know it's 11 o'clock? Maggie must think she's a widow.
What about Judith Manning?
Nothing since she shook off the tail at Melrose and La Brea, ran a red light.
It's 6 hours since we lost her.
For my dough, she can stay lost. What's that?
A shell you found next to the body. Is there any chance it could have been damaged since you picked it up?
Why?
There's a flare near the lip. Looks as though it might have been torn by a screwdriver or something.
Important?
Doesn't fit the breech of the murder gun. I tried it.
That's important.
Hello?
This is Judith Manning. I want to speak to Inspector Saber right away.
Speaking.
I want to talk now. I'll be waiting in my apartment. Yes. Goodbye.
Number, please.
20 minutes flat. Not bad. She sounded scared.
Wonder what's eating her.
Oh, she's got a lot on her mind.
What is it?
An earring. Strange, that phone being off the hook.
You think she called from here?
I wonder.
Running?
I guess not. Let's take the stairs.
Oh, no. 18 stories?
Come on, Tim. You can make it.
Your bid for the stairway carpets and draperies is satisfactory with us. Therefore, ask you... Oh, no.
Maybe 27 heard another funny noise.
Oh, Inspector Saber.
We saw the light in here. You know Sergeant Maloney.
Sergeant. My secretary and I are just finishing up some odds and ends. What's on your mind?
The elevator isn't working. Any idea why?
Again?
Oh, it happens all the time. Somebody's left the door open. Sit down, won't you, and I'll have a look.
Thank you.
Interruptions. 6 hours overtime and nothing but interruptions.
Oh?
We got stupid tenants. Same thing happened last night. Same thing. Some stupid tenant leaves the door unlatched and everybody walks.
What time last night?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Try, huh?
Well, I was working late last night in my office, too, down the hall, trying to get out the rent statements. I quit about,
11?
Yeah, that's right. And I was going to ride down and get my car out of the garage, and the elevator was as dead as a doornail.
About the same time. And a half hour later.
Have you seen Mrs. Manning tonight?
She's out.
How do you know?
Well, you said she was out.
Nobody said anything about Mrs. Manning.
Well, she must be out if she doesn't answer her phone.
Why are you lying?
All right, so I didn't see her go out, I heard her. So I listened in, so what?
On the phone?
I was on the switchboard this afternoon, relieving the regular girl, and things got kind of dull, so I left the key open, sort of.
Just sort of, huh?
Yeah.
Who did you speak to?
Somebody named Paul. She sounded like she'd been crying, and she said something about how it would never work out, and would he meet her at the Beverly Wilshire. That's all.
That's enough.
All right, so I did it, and I'm sorry. And if you want to have me canned, tell the
Oh, it's running now. As usual, the door open right here on the main floor.
Thank you.
Something wrong?
We'll let you know.
Phone's ringing. I've got Manning's key, shall I?
No, give her a chance to answer. Hold it. Now.
This is where I came in. Yeah, that's right, Countess. A 32 automatic Colt. Wait a minute, I'll get the number. What was that serial number again, Mark?
124-2710.
124-2710. Run it down the license cross file, huh? Okay, we'll wait.
Did you notice the clock on the stove last night?
Huh? Yeah, I think it was slow.
A half hour?
Yeah, why?
It's an hour slow now.
It lost a half an hour overnight?
Yeah. How about the gun?
He'll have the license card in a few minutes.
I'll save him some time. It was my gun. I loaned it to Judith. Well, all right, make something of it. I gave it to her because she was afraid of somebody.
Who?
I don't know. I don't know who it was. I don't know. All right, all right.
You admit you were in love with Judith Manning.
I never said I wasn't.
So you knocked off her husband to get her, and she turned you down, so you...
Please, listen to me. I'm trying to level.
Up to now, you've been as level as a $2 pool table.
You were in love with Judith Manning, and her husband found out. The next move's obvious. He decided to cut her out of his will, right?
Yeah.
So you all got together in your office last night for the will-changing ceremonies.
I guess it was his idea of humor. I don't know.
What about Judith?
Nothing mattered to Judith as long as he'd give her a divorce. I don't know what was going on in his mind. He was crazy. He agreed to everything.
An hour later, he killed himself. That's what we thought. I realized that
if we destroyed the records of the codicil, the money would still be hers. I burned the records at the office, and Judith did the same here. Then Judith called me this afternoon. She'd talked to someone. It wasn't suicide. She said it was murder. She had to go to the police.
So you met her in front of the Beverly Wilshire and tried to talk her out of it?
How did you know that?
It's our business to know, Weeks. Come here a minute, Tim. We've got a case against Weeks right now, except for one thing.
The earring?
Yes. She's missing one earring. I think it was lost down in the garage, right on the spot where she was murdered. Weeks had a key we didn't know about. If he killed her, it's right here.
I'll have a dozen men here in 10 minutes. We'll comb the joint from cellar to attic. Nothing doing yet.
You're in time.
I hope you're right. If you aren't, Weeks is on his way to Tijuana right now.
Circle around, see if you can get him back a bit.
Right. Look out, Mark!
He's still alive. Call an ambulance.
Look, Mark, the motive angle doesn't bother me at all. So Erickson was in love with Judith Manning. Maybe he was the guy she ran around with right after her marriage.
Maybe. Maybe she loved him, too, at one time. It doesn't matter because he had her figured wrong anyway.
Let's see. Erickson waited till Douglas Manning won the court fight and had the money. Knew Judith, his wife, would get it if anything happened to Manning.
So his lady love comes to him with her pockets full of gold. But she didn't. He went to her after the murder, and when she realized what he'd done, she decided to go to the police.
That was her mistake. Now, what about these shells? The breech marks match the murder guns, according to ballistics.
Of course they do.
You mean he killed them with their own guns?
Which he'd stolen beforehand. Take Manning, for instance. Erickson used the key to the penthouse, which no one knew about, stole the gun, then went down to the basement and lay in wait for Manning to come home from the meeting at Weeks' office.
All right, so he moves up and fires. Then what?
3 things. First, he carefully picks up the ejected shell. Second, he cuts off the master switch to the penthouse. Then he packs Manning up there in the elevator.
That switch business threw the clock off.
Bullet for you. He'd kept the elevator ready in the basement by blocking the doors open. Hence the out-of-order complaints.
All right, so now he's up in the penthouse.
He lays Manning out on the kitchen floor near the stove, puts the gun in his hand, then he takes the empty shell, fills it with powder, and rams in a wad.
Like a blank cartridge.
Exactly. He puts it on the electric stove, turns the stove on. Nothing happens because the master switch in the basement's turned off. Now all he has to do to fire the bullet from the inside is to go down to the basement, throw the switch. In about 5 minutes, the coils heat up, and boom.
But the other thing.
The heater?
Yeah.
Well, that should be easy for you. With a room as hot as that, the medical examiner can be thrown off on the time of death by as much as 3 hours. Erickson was too clever to take any chances. And you, Tim, should be clever enough to know that unless you hustle home to Maggie...
I got you. If she happens to call, tell her,
Inspector Saber. Oh, hello, Maggie. He's on his way right now.
Join us again next week for another exciting adventure with Inspector Mark Saber of the Homicide Squad.